Thank you everyone for joining us on a Sunday evening in Pakistan. And although today is a big day for cricket fans in Pakistan and India, but I'm glad we were able to see this session right before the match. Before I start, I want to introduce myself. I'm Tabarak. I'm based in New York City. I work for a consulting called Alex Partners. We help companies through their Chapter 11 bankruptcies, turnaround and restructuring. That's what I do. I came to Northeastern University for my master's degree in 2022, went to IBA Karachi, graduated in 2018. And I'm very passionate about helping other Pakistanis with access to education, especially in the US. And I feel like student loans and access to capital is one topic that doesn't get talked about enough, and which is why I'm super happy that the team from MPower Financing is here with us. Utkarsh is from MPower Financing, and Rohan went to LUMS, graduated 2019, then went to Boston, also took a loan from MPower. So I think it's nice for him to join us as well. Uh, that's a bit about me. Utkarsh, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about MPower Financing, and then I'll have a few questions for you guys.
Sure. Hello everybody. Thank you for joining. Like Tabarak mentioned, like it's a big day for all of us. But let's see, like may the best team win. But regarding MPower Financing, so MPower Financing is a US-based lending firm where we give out education loans to students who want to go to US or Canada for their higher education. I'll be talking more about it later today. But to sum it up, till date, we have supported more than 25,000 students across the globe. And fortunately, Pakistan has been a great part of our contribution. And we have supported around 700 students from Pakistan up until last year, not accounting the numbers for this year. So yeah, looking forward to the session today. And as Tabarak mentioned, I am a part of MPower Financing, where I work in the marketing team over here. And one of the perks is that I get to interact with a lot of past students like Tabarak and Rohan, and also like a lot of future potential students around the globe. Some of you have joined us today. So thank you for joining and looking forward to the session.
Thank you. And Rohan, can you give us a brief introduction of yourself and your grad school journey and how you financed it?
Yeah, of course. So as the Tabarak mentioned, my name's Rohan. I went to LUMS in Pakistan, did my undergrad in 2019. Then I decided I wanted to do a master's in 2023. Financing was a major concern because most of the savings that I had, and if you guys are aware, I'm sure you guys are, since 21 to 23, our currency lost like, I'd say 30-40% of its value. The dollar started at 200. By the time I was going for my master's, it was 300. So I needed something that could help me support with my education, and I was going to Boston, and Boston is one of the most expensive cities to live in. So I was actually recommended by a friend who also took a loan from MPower. So he went to Chicago. He gave me this option. When I was talking to him, he said you can take a student loan. I wasn't really sure how this works because it was a pretty significant loan at the time. So I did my research on it, looked up, and eventually it made sense for me. And then I used the loan to fund my tuition, and while I used my savings to cover my living expenses, and that's how my journey started.
And how much was your total grad school degree?
In terms of cost, tuition?
Yeah, tuition.
Or living expenses too?
Yeah, just tuition.
So the tuition, like our website, the university website says the tuition for my program, I did a master's in finance. So my program was 55,000. Then I got a very good scholarship, and then whatever the rest of the tuition amount was, I covered through my student loan. Scholarship can vary from person to person and their profile, but 55,000 is the number that the university officially talks about.
Okay, very nice. Thank you for sharing that. So Utkarsh, can you tell us a bit about what countries does MPower Financing support? Because I get a lot of questions about whether MPower supports UK, Germany, is it just US and Canada? How are you guys focused?
Yeah, so thank you for asking. At present, MPower is only active for the universities which are present in US and Canada. So we work with more than 500 schools, majority of them being from US. which are amongst the top schools out there offering majority various degrees. So yeah, the not UK, Canada, sorry, not UK, Australia, Germany at this moment, but it's just US and Canada for now.
Okay, very nice. And is it just master's degrees or is it also undergrad?
Yes, undergrad as well, but as per our program, you need to be in the final 2 years of your program, your degree. So, for example, either you are doing a bachelor's or let's say PhD. These programs are more than 2 years in the complete duration, right? So, for our product, you need to be in the final 2 years. But for master's program, majority of them are for 2 years or within 2 years. For that, we complete like the full course.
And how and what's the eligibility criteria? Can anybody apply, for a loan if they get into a US degree? I'm sorry, I'm asking very basic questions, but just want to, understand it as like I've never, I know nothing about it. So can anybody just apply for a student loan?
True, true. I completely agree. It might sound like a basic question, but these are the frequently asked questions for us as well. So yes, number one, anybody can apply. There's an application that you'll find on Empower website. The initial process is a 30-second checkup process to tell you whether you are eligible or not, because Empower supports programs for specific universities. So, for example, there's a XYZ university, we might not support all the programs. And to know what those programs are, you can actually go visit our website. We have a schools we support page where you can find all the details over there, what schools we support, the programs related to it. But the easiest and the quickest way is go to the application, take the 30-second eligibility, and you'll get to know. No barrier on age, no barrier on the English test or anything. You just need to be interested to pursue your education, and you'll find a way.
And do I need a collateral? Do I need to put my house in Pakistan as a collateral with you guys, or how does that work? Because
No. Everything stays with you. Empower's USP out there is Empower's loan are co-signer and collateral free, which means we are not going to ask you to put details of your family members, your mother, father, uncle, aunt, anybody. We do not need that. Second is we are not going to ask you for any property papers or put like some other property or asset as a mortgage. The loan is completely based on the potential of the student. Which is like your earning potential, the kind of course that you're going into, and also the university. So these are some of the minimums that we look into. Obviously, there are other parameters as well. But yes, to answer your question directly, we are not going to ask for any sort of guarantor or any sort of property papers for your education loan.
very nice. And Rohan, I have a question for you. How long did it? How long was your loan term?
So the loan gets in my case, I had 3 terms. I had a fall semester, then I had a spring semester, and then I did a summer. And that's how I completed my master's. So the entire loan amount for me was disbursed in 3 tranches. And the way it started is that I think Utkarsh would talk about it, but I can briefly mention it. When your loan gets disbursed, you only make interest payments while you're in school on the amount that was disbursed. So my first tranche interest payments were really low. Then the second tranche was disbursed, the interest payments doubled. And then when the third tranche was disbursed, whatever my agreed interest amount was on my loan disclosure, that was the full interest payment that I paid. And then that continued up until 6 months after my graduation. And once that 6-month grace period was over, then I started making full payments on my loan.
And how long is your repayment period? Is it like 7 years or 10 years?
The repayment, I think, is standard 10 years. My repayment is 10 years as of right now.
Okay.
I'm in 7th year. I'm sorry, 7 years to go for me. 3 years are done.
And how do you think about your repayments? Is it manageable? Is it too much? How does that work?
So I think that was the $1 million question when I was looking at my loan, the interest, the repayment, because while I was looking at the payment, I wanted to be sure that whatever my earning potential will be after living in survival expenses, I would be able to cover this. I would be able to cover this payment. So while I did my research, again, my friend who suggested me to look into MPower, he was the one, because at the time he was 2 years into his degree. So he was working, he had a job, he was coming out on his OPT. And I talked to him and I asked him, like, let's be realistic. This is the program I'm doing. He did data sciences, so obviously slightly different, but more or less we were going into similar fields. And he said that yes, if you're good, you have a good potential for your future, you would end up with a good, reasonable job that would pay you a decent money. Then we went over some prevailing wages, like what the market pays for what kind of roles. Then he asked me to look into some H1B past data to see what kind of positions are offering what against what city. So I did like a pretty I did a lot of research into this, and then eventually I realized that even on the low end, making these payments for me, where I was comfortable doing that. So that's why I uh, made this bet on myself.
Very nice. I can give you my own example. So when I took a student loan, my whole thought process wasn't like I have a $50,000 loan or a $40,000 loan. My thought process was like, okay, for the next 7 years after I graduate, I have to pay $600 a month. And if I'm making, let's say, even, right out of school, the average from my school was around 100 to 120K. If I say I land somewhere between the average, I'll be taking home after tax $8,000. So I'll be easily be able to manage that $700, $600 payment. So that's how I was thinking about it, and I think that's the right way to think about it too. So thank you for sharing that. Utkarsh, is there any? Do you guys see any patterns on what students get their applications rejected? Or what are the best practices during the application process to make sure that your loan does not get rejected?
Sure. So majority of the cases that sort of get rejected are at the initial stage while the people are filling their eligibility, right? Because that's how we have designed it. Like I mentioned, MPower does not support all the programs for all the universities. So a lot of times, for example, a student might come for an MBA for a school because that's maybe like some a place where his or her one of the friends went or a colleague went, but maybe it's possible that now the terms or how the product is being offered at the university or the ranking of the school has changed, right? So once they come to our website and fill in the details on the form, they'll get to know whether MPower supports those programs or not. That's so a major drop is that at that place. Second is we do look into the credit history of the student as well while they are filling, or the credit worthiness, if you have to put it that way. And that's also one of the place where we see a drop because of some of the past transaction or an unhealthy credit history of the person. They might not get the desired amount that they're looking forward to, and eventually, since they're not getting that amount, they would automatically drop out because they won't get the XYZ number over there. Also, if the credit history is super bad, right, then we through the help of the credit agency, we will automatically drop it over there that okay, your profile is not that good. But as a solution for that, if we do also tell the students that if by the time you want to reapply again, obviously like if your application is declined, you can come back, reapply, but you can ensure that all your credit history is clean. If there's any default, you go back to the bank and clear it out, and then with the revised credit statement, you can come back to us and reapply for the loan.
Okay, very nice. And just for everybody who's in Pakistan, and Rohan, correct me if I'm wrong, uh, most of us, we don't use credit as much. Credit cards, I think we're not a credit-based economy in Pakistan still, but everybody can get, even if you've never used a credit card, you can get a credit history or credit report by going to this website called Data Check. I'll put it in the chat as well and share afterwards as well. And then I think there's one other third-party rating agency that also does your credit worthiness report.
That's Tasdeeq.
What's it called? Tasdeeq?
Tasdeeq app. Yep, I use that.
Okay, so one is Tasdeeq, the other is Data Check, and so you don't necessarily need to have credit card history, or you don't need to, even if you've never taken a loan, you can still get that credit report. And if you have any credit cards, make sure that you are up to date on like your payments, your current on whatever fees that you have to pay, so that It doesn't penalize you when you're applying for a student loan. So Utkarsh, yeah,
One
sorry.
point. Thanks for sharing that. Like it's a pretty good insight for me as well for the market, because till now, like we were completely sort of not aware that something like this exists. So it will just help us to inform more and more students about this whole process. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, 100%. And even like I think I found out when I was applying as well because we're not a credit-based economy. Okay, so Utkarsh, one question that I keep getting from a lot of students, and let me ask Rohan first. Rohan, do you have any other friends who took student loans?
My wife took a student loan, so it's actually two loans in one household. So I think I can give you a very close insight on how it works.
Okay, very nice. So a lot of students they're like worried about will we be able to repay it? What if we default? Have you seen any of your friends or any of your class fellows default yet? Or do you know any stories about it?
So default, I wouldn't say default because I wasn't really there to see the whole process till the end, but there were some students in my school who came from India, and I wouldn't really say they defaulted on their loans, but the problem was they got really bad grades. And when you get really bad grades, the school sort of first gives you a warning, then if it continues, they penalize you or they ask you for a readmission. So that's the situation I saw happening with some students. I don't exactly know how their loans worked out. So from what my conversation with one of the guys was that his so similarly three terms, three tranches. His first tranche was disbursed, but the loan company, I'm not sure if it was MPower or the competitor, but they basically said that we won't fund the next two tranches until we get a confirmation from your school that you are in good standing with the school. So that's something I saw happening. So they were only liable to cover the first tranche because the school sort of
Yeah.
canceled their admission after that. So that's
Okay.
something I have seen happening.
Okay, so one thing to do if you're taking student loan is to make sure that you're on top of your grades and your academics, and like everything else in the world, like if you don't need to like mess this up. Utkarsh, have you seen any stories of like what if a student is unable to repay? I mean, they're having a hard time finding a job. They're doing everything right. Sometimes and, they're not in luck. They're not finding the right opportunity. How does Empower support those students?
Cool. So I'll give you two references over here. One is, for example, if there's a student who is still in school, because like Rohan mentioned, there's a in-school payment process which Empower has, which is like just to make the like the loan amount as low as possible for the student. So if there's a student who is in school and not able to repay due to any reason, we do have a hardship program in place. So the student can just reach out to their relationship manager and let them know, look, I'm facing challenges. They'll get back to you asking for some proofs, and then eventually they'll help you out, figure out that whole aspect for it. So if whatever your amount was, like we'll try to bring it to a minimum amount, which is like pretty feasible for anybody who's out there. So that's one. So for students who are in school. Second is for anybody who has just graduated and now looking for a job, right? Because that's the crucial part. So by default in our program, we have a concept of grace period. So 6 months after till the time you end your program, you'll have time to figure out a job and continue with your in school payment terms and not have like the principal added to it. So how our EMI is sort of distributed is you ask for a XYZ amount, that the interest gets added to it, which is interest plus principal. Till the time the student is in school, it's only in interest only payment, and then eventually once you get a job after the grace period, or even before that, you can start with the full EMI, which is interest plus principal. So yeah, in short, for in school process, there's a program in place to help students if there's a default, or second is once you get once you're trying to figure out a job, we by default we have a grace period process.
Okay, very nice. And is there beyond just giving out student loans, are there any other resources where Empower supports its students?
Sure, yeah. So we have a couple of programs. Number one is a scholarship program. And the best part of our scholarship program is that you don't need to be an Empower customer to apply for the scholarship. Throughout the year, Empower gives out 6 different scholarships, which is not like amount into like six, but six different programs, if I have to put it that way. One is a monthly scholarship, and the others are half yearly in nature, which ranges from $8,000 up to like 1,000. So like a huge bracket. Uh, you can go up ahead till the time you're an international student studying at one of the 500 plus schools supported by MPower. You can go ahead and apply. And yeah, like no restriction over there. You just need to read the terms and condition, see if you fit in over there or not, and then go ahead and apply. Uh, but for our customers, we do have a program called Path to Success, under which we have couple of programs, starting with visa support, where so once you are applying for admissions and later for visa, you need to prove that you have the sufficient amount to fund your education, for which for if you're coming for, if you're bringing the money from your home, it's okay, you can put out your bank statement. But if you are taking the amount from any external resource, you need to provide a letter. A lot of traditional lenders, they'll ask you money for that letter. Like it could be like $100, or it could be like $500 as well as a guarantee for the letter. At MPower, we provide that letter free of cost. So you can, as soon as your loan is approved, you get that support letter, apply for your I-20 and for your visa application, and you can use that letter as a proof of fund. So that's plus, like we do host a lot of F1 classes, or even Canadian study permit classes, with the help of our immigration officers who are expert in this domain, who will come tell you tips and tricks about how to apply for visa application, or even how to appear for the interview. We do mock classes as well. Apart from that, like we do have partners like froghire.ai, who help students figure out opportunities, internship opportunities, or even job opportunities. And since you would be an MPower customer, you'll get a discount on their services. Plus, like there are other major offerings as well, like right from credit cards, or even visa, or even a SIM card. So these are some of the additional features that we have.
Very nice. And is there, back to pre-application, is there an application fee to to get this loan, or do I have to pay something to get the loan, or?
Yeah, no, it's completely free of cost. Till the time you are not taking loan from MPower, you are not paying anything. There's only a one-time origination fees, which the students have to pay at the time of the disbursement of the loan. So till the time the amount is not going out of your account, you're not paying anything to MPower.
Okay, very nice. And how does this affect your credit score in the US? Does this eventually translate if you're doing well on your payments, and if you're doing everything right? How does that translate into your credit history in the US?
Yeah, that's correct. So if you have a healthy repayment system in place, we do keep a record of it, and eventually we do report to the credit agencies present in US, since we are a US based or a US registered organization, which eventually helps the students to build their credit profile over there. Rohan can talk more about it, but in US, if you want to take a car or even a SIM card, I believe you need to prove your credit history over there. And a systematic repayment plan to a US organization just simplifies it all for the students, especially for students who are going there for the first time, do not have any background or any family member to support you. MPower is there to help you through all these mechanisms.
Okay, very nice. And just to take a step back, and I just want to give an overview of the application process, of the admissions process actually, rather than the application process, and then I can come in and share where you can get the student loan. So, so you're a student right now. Right now is September. You're looking for universities. You figure out what university you want to apply to, and let's just say by December, you get an admissions offer from a Northeastern University. Let's just say that you get an admission offer from your university. The university will issue you a form I-20. So form I-20 is a form which lets you prove that you have enough funds to fund your education in the US. So you have to essentially give proof of funds to the university, and then that form I-20 is a proof that the embassy or the visa officers use to issue you the visa. And so you essentially need, if you don't have your own funds to sponsor yourself in the US, you will need a student loan at the time of your form I-20. So even before you're in the US, and you just have your admissions letter from the university, you can apply for a student loan and then use that as a proof of funds to be here. Is that correct, Utkarsh, Rohan? Am I skipping any parts or?
Well, I guess it's pretty much correct. Like from a student perspective, actually, Rohan can, and you guys are better experts to talk about this. I can give you the money part of it, but yeah, like pretty much I-20 and everything is in place.
And when exactly does and okay, let's talk about the living expenses. So my total tuition is, let's just say, $50,000, and I need $15,000 on top of it. So Rohan, did you how does the living expenses work? Who gets the money? Does the money go directly to the student's bank account, or does the money go go to the university and then they disperse you?
So very interesting question. My numbers were actually very similar to the numbers you quoted. Because I had scholarships, I did not need to apply for the full tuition. But when I applied for my loan, I applied for like 5,000 over what my requirement was. And that was my concern too when I came to the US, because MPower disperses the money directly to their school. They don't give you the money. So in my case, what happened was that when my first tranche was disbursed, a portion of that extra $5,000, so you divide that $5,000 three ways, $1,200 or $1,300 were disbursed to me from my school after my loan was disbursed to them. So those were counted against my living expenses, even though they weren't really a lot. But that's how, if you apply for tuition plus living expenses, so for example, if your loan amount is over and above your tuition fee, then your school disburses it to you. And the school disburses you based on the number of semesters or the number of times the school gets paid by MPower. So that's how it worked for me.
Okay, very nice. I think I've covered most of the things that I needed to ask. Utkarsh, is there anything that you need to add before I open the floor? And if anybody has any questions from the audiences, you can, raise your hand or put it in the chat. Ideally, raise your hand and unmute yourself after. Utkarsh, do you have any final thoughts before we open the floor?
No, like what I can mention over there, it's based upon like certain analysis from our side that, especially for the Pakistani market, it's one of the serious markets where we are seeing high potential of students coming and applying for international education, right? So if I have to just give you some numbers out there, and this is for everybody to make you understand like what kind of efforts that the students have to put in, because it's not a piece of cake, to be honest. Like we all know, it's a high effort, high intensity area. So every year, at least like in the Southeast Asian region, close to like 1 million students apply for education in US. And like till last year, almost like 10,000 of them were from Pakistan, and who actually got there. And the number of students who applied could have been on the higher side as well. And if anybody out here is actually looking for education in STEM domains, right, which could be like now how AI is coming up, or cybersecurity and everything, these are like high potential areas which are being offered by big schools, and further offering high value in terms of getting paid. So if there's anybody who is thinking about these domains, that's the area that you should explore. And eventually at MPower as well, like how our program is designed is the students opting for STEM degrees actually have like a higher potential of getting an approval. So now a lot of MBAs are also being accounted into STEM, which eventually, and STEM degrees also have a better visa approval rates, because like the visa officer also knows that you have a better chance of getting a job or even repaying your education loan. So these are some of the factors that anybody who's thinking about this industry should look into. And then eventually, like there are numerous resources which you can find online, which will help you in this whole journey. And eventually, like MPower or even any other organization which is working in this domain also have a lot of content on their website which can help you in this whole process.
Okay, very nice. So I will open the floor to questions now. If anybody has any questions, feel free to raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask directly.
Tabarak,
Yeah,
sorry to cut you off, but I was going through the chart, just looking at what the feedback the audience is giving, and I see three questions which I wanted to address. Obviously, I want you to first take a look, but the Josefa has asked three questions on three different points. So the first question is, MPower is giving loans without collateral or co-signers. Is it too good to be true? I had the same concern, and I think I will let Utkarsh talk about the risk management and how loans work. But in general, again, as you said, since Pakistan is not a credit-based society, people don't really have an understanding of how student loans work. In the US as well, the student loans are given mostly without collateral to local students. So Utkarsh can speak more to the risk management part of it. But another question he asked is there any negative impact on visa interview if you're opting for a student loan? Again, a very interesting question, and I also face this dilemma. And eventually, what I realized is that when you're going to the embassy with a student loan, like when your source of funding is a student loan, they actually look at you with a lot more respect than they instead when you say that my uncle, my father, or whoever XYZ person is funding my loan through that money. Because again, in the US at least, there's a huge culture of people going for education and taking loans and then repaying them on their own. It shows resilience, it shows discipline, and it shows like a person is driven. And most embassy officers, even when they went to their undergrads or masters, most of them have also taken student loans. So when you go and you say that I'm taking a loan to fund my education and that's my plan on paying it back, they actually look at you with a lot more respect instead of looking at you with some kind of a concern or that if you're legit or not. So it's actually the opposite of it.
yeah, and I feel like for and visa is such a black box that you can't really figure out why someone got their visa or why someone did not get their visa. So but what you can control is like prepare well for your answers, have your story ready, look sharp, look nice, try to know about what you're talking about, what school you're going to, and then I know so many friends who've come here on their student loans. They got their visas, and some like who had their own funding, but they couldn't get in. So it's a black box, but you should do what you can do, which is like prepare well for the interview, know about your school, know about yourself. So yeah. And then Rohan, I think you raised an interesting point. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Danish, you had a question. Danish, you wanna go first?
Actually, my question was answered. So yeah,
Where are you applying, Danish?
I'll probably applying in Northeastern maybe,
Okay, very nice.
or
What
or
program are you?
UT Austin maybe.
Okay, nice. All right, good luck.
Analytics. I want to ask one thing. You mentioned about that data check and other app. So I remember a few years ago I took a loan from Easy Pesa or Jazz Cash, and it was there for like years. I forgot about it. So is that going to impact my credit history?
Yes, it will. And I can answer that because I worked for Moblin Microfinance Bank and we were looking at Jazz Cash defaults. Yes, it will. But again, I would suggest just go look into it right now. I'm not sure how, because whatever your amount was, because it's a micro loan, it's a very small amount. But since I'm assuming you haven't really paid it off or have ignored it completely, that amount has probably now ballooned. And they have put that amount into default. And now once that amount goes into default, it goes on data check. So Tasdeeq or data check are your best resources. Contact them, try to find a report, see what amount is pending, and whatever there is, pay it off and just go to the bank and ask them to remove it. But even if you pay it off, that's still a good sign, but it will remain on your report.
Yeah, but I think you can always talk to them. You can always talk to them and try to make it go away. But also, I think one of the students was applying to Empower this year. They had a similar situation with a loan that they on credit card. They just didn't realize it, and they were going to a really good school. I think they were going to some top MBA here. And when they spoke to the company, I think they were like, they understood the situation because he got like his statements updated from the bank where the loan was. So, but I mean, go back to your Easy Pesa or whatever provider, and try to get it fixed.
It's not that big a deal, so you shouldn't really be too worried about it as long as you address it.
Yeah. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to raise your hand. So somebody's saying it would take approximately 1 year. Okay. So Ibrahim has a question, actually an interesting situation. He got his conditional offer from University of South Carolina, and for I-20, he needs to show $60,000 as a bank statement. Tuition is 25K, but I think the total amount with living expenses comes to 60K. Is there any way to have that guarantee amount from the banks providing loans? Utkarsh, do you want to take this one?
Uh, as I'm understanding, like what he's trying to ask is like, can he have the amount in his account, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but you don't need to have the amount in your own bank account. And what you can do is you can get your loan approved, apply for a student loan, get that conditional offer from the loan company, and use that as a bank statement or as like a proof of funds. So that is as good as your own bank statement. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
that's correct. That's correct. So, like I mentioned previously, as soon as your loan is approved, MPower will give you a digital copy of your support letter, which is completely free of cost. And that is something that you can use for your I-20 or even visa application, and it will reflect the complete amount that you have applied for or you have been approved, which could include your tuition fees plus your living expenses. So it will just help you make your case. So no need to have that amount in your account until unless like you are paying it from yourself. If it's some external organization which is helping you, a support letter is sufficient in your application.
Okay. And then Murtaza has a question. Can I get the loan if I have the required I-20 amount, but still want to take the loan for a STEM master's? I think he's asking about like if he needs over and above living expenses. Do you want to answer that, Utkarsh?
Yeah, sure. You can definitely go ahead and apply. In fact, like this is like one of the area that we have seen a huge growth this year internally as well. That students who did not take loan from MPower for their first semester, let's suppose, but eventually, and this is very common to happen, that you estimated a XYZ amount. Once you reach there, the reality is a bit different. You end up spending that amount, and now you are in a need of additional money. So no need to worry about that. You can come to MPower and you can apply if you're already a student over there. It's actually quicker because you have the visa and everything already with you. So you have the complete docs with you. Just apply and you'll get the loan. Second is there's one more aspect of this. How he has framed the sentence, I'm assuming, is that if he has already got an I-20 claiming something else as a source of funding, and if he can apply later. So I think like yes, if I'm thinking it correctly, you can still go ahead and apply Murtaza. And does not matter that you have something else listed on your I-20 as a source of funding. MPower is like happy to help you in this process.
Yeah, very cool. So what happened with me was when I was a student, I didn't take any, additional cost of living expenses, any loan for cost of living initially. But when I got there, I realized that I needed additional funds to apply for my EAD card, to process my OPT. And then like I got a miscellaneous expense because I needed to get some dental, checkup done. So I needed to get a root canal done, and dentist checkups are extremely expensive. I had to pay like $5,000.
Extremely expensive.
So I think it's always nice to have that $5,000 to $10,000 on top of whatever you're budgeting. And one of the reasons for that I say is that once you have that cushion, there isn't a lot of difference in your payments between a 50,000 loan and a 55,000 loan, but it gives you like a lot more peace of mind. You won't be some students I see, and those students make a huge mistake, is that as soon as they come to the US for their master's degree, they try to look for other ways to make money, like off-campus jobs that are not allowed, that are not legal. They pay you, minimum wage, even below minimum wage. They work you like a horse or a dog, whatever you call it, and you're so tired that you're unable to focus on achieving what you're set out to achieve. You're not able to focus on finding the right jobs, finding the right internships. So I would highly discourage anyone if you're coming to the US, to look for other ways to make money. If you're in the need, take a student loan. And in the grand scheme of things, if you are to make, inshallah, millions of dollars cumulatively in your career, this $5,000 to $10,000 doesn't matter as much in the grand scheme of things. So think of like making a lot more in the long term versus your short term expenses.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Tabrak, like one of the fear that we have seen in students is around repayment, right? So there's something that I'd like to clarify over here is, although like Rohan mentioned, our total loan tenure is for 10 years to repay the loan, right? But we have seen a lot of cases where students are able to close their loan in just like 5 years or even less than that, which includes like 2 years of school, because a lot of good companies who can give you a joining bonus which is almost equal to the amount of loan that you have taken, or even a portion of it, right? So if if you are in need of any additional money, do not look for easy ways or ways that can put your visa in trouble, because the policies are like pretty strict in US especially. So go for a loan, and like Tabrak mentioned, you'll get a great job, and eventually like paying off the loan would be just a piece of cake for you.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who I know never complains about their loan repayment. So we
Yeah.
complain about our rent, we complain about everything else, we never complain about student loans. Okay, so Ikra has a question. What if there's already loan history on your family? Does it count on your credit history, or the only account that you're using on your name, its credit history will be considered? I don't really understand this question, but it could be like maybe your family has bad debt history or the credit worthiness isn't as good. Will that affect you? Utkarsh, I think it's for you.
Yeah. So at MPower, it won't affect you, Ikra, because what happens is this is a case where if you're going for a lender which is asking for your family as a support over there or documents over there, in those cases this might affect you, because if your co-signer or guarantor in this case has a default history, then his or her profile is also not 100% secure. But at MPower, like I mentioned, we are placing the bet on your profile, the student profile, and therefore we are just looking into your history. So if there's no report, a negative report on your personal profile, it's completely safe for you. You can go ahead and apply for the loan. And to the question, since we are discussing this about placing the bet on the student, to the part that Josefa mentioned, that no cosigner, no collateral, like how exactly MPower is working on it, it might be like too good to be true, but that's actually the scenario, Josefa. We are putting the bet on the student's profile, students like Rohan, his wife, or even like there are hundreds of students who have taken this loan from MPower, no matter which country. How it happens is like we look into your personal profile, and we, at least like with all the positive sentiments in place, we are looking that the student is going to give his or her best, stay in the country, build his or her career, and that's how we sort of look into this segment. There are cases where the student like are maybe not repaying the loan properly, but we do have mechanisms in place, but that's the last resort that we get into. But yes, like till the time like it's a situation which is manageable, we are putting our best with the students.
And what's the worst that can happen to a student? Like, that's a fear. Like, okay, I am in the US, I am unable to finish my degree, I'm unable to find a job that pays me enough to pay back my loan. What happens in that case?
Like I mentioned, there are mechanisms in place, like which are like only open for the situations, and like we do have like the servicing team in place which looks into all this aspect. We do have like partners which work for us in US and other countries as well, which help us in such situations.
Okay, very nice. Uh, eh, do we have any other questions? Okay, Babar, do you have a question? Go ahead.
Hi everyone, this is Bobber. Thank you so much.
Babar, please introduce yourself a little bit. Just give us some context about your highest level of education and where you're applying, and then ask your question.
Yeah, sure. So I have done my bachelor's in computer science. I graduated in 2019, and after that, right now, I am in FAST doing my master's in data science. So I was planning to apply for the different countries, and US is one of the on the low of that list, I would say that. But I just joined this seminar to know about how the system works if we are planning to study in USA. So I do have some kind of very basic questions. I hope that I'm not repeating the same question that you already answered in the start of this webinar. So I do have like 2 or 3 questions.
Please
The
ask.
first one-
Yeah.
yeah, sure. So my first question would be what is the complete cycle of this? So according to my understanding, you first got the admission in the university, and after that you have to apply for the MPower. But as I think Utrecht already mentioned, that you have to make sure that that university is listed in with the MPower. So do we have to apply also through from MPower while we're applying for the university, or we have to directly apply to the university, and after that we have to get the information that either this university is listed on MPower or not? And second thing is that if we got the loan and we start our degree in US, so do we have to pay the installment fee with the start of our degree, or do we have to start paying the installments and paying back all the loan after our graduation? So it would take almost 2 years if we got the good grades. Thank you.
Okay,
Alright.
great. Zulkar, feel free.
Yeah, sure. So, hi, Babar. So, to answer your first question about when to apply, from Empower perspective, what we recommend students is you can apply up to 12 months in advance. And what happens in majority of the scenarios is that the students are actually taking their chances to get in the best school, and that's where they're applying for multiple schools at a time. So with Empower, you can come on a platform, irrespective you have admission or not. You can come in early, and then you can apply for all the schools, or apply loan for all the schools that you are applied for. This just helps us in starting a profile for you. Our team starts looking into your profile, but eventually you will get the loan decision only once you complete all the documents, right? Which includes your admission letter and plus all the other legal documents. So once you submit your admission letter, that's where your profiling finishes, because we'll know the school that you're going for, the subject, and on the basis of that, we'll be able to analyze the kind of job or the money that you can make after finishing your education. And once it is done, this is where the final decision would come in, that if you are applied for, let's say, $80,000 or $90,000 of loan, how much would you actually get in? And on the basis of that, you will get the support letter. So that's one case that you can start early. Second is, there are also cases where the students start after they get their admission, because they'll know, I applied for 5 schools, I got admission in 3. Let's start the application for all 3 of them, because how those 3 universities are analyzed are completely different, because a program that you might be going into could be super strong in one school and not that strong in the other one. So that also helps us in evaluating your profile. So you can do either of them, or eventually, if you just have one solid school that you want to go to, you can just go ahead with the application for that, and then eventually wait for our team to finish your evaluation and then come up with the result. So that's one part of it. What was the second question? Sorry.
The second one was the repayment. Does it start in school, after school? How does that work?
Yeah. So, Babar, the repayment would start while you are in school. Okay. And that would be just not on the complete loan amount, but so Empower releases the loan amount on the basis of semesters, right? So for first semester, if it's a 2-semester program, we'll just release half of the amount. So your repayment would start on that particular amount, which is sent out to the school, which is disbursed to the school, but it won't be like a full EMI repayment. It would be interest only repayment. So whatever is the interest rate on the amount that was disbursed, you would get charged for that. And like I mentioned previously, this is just done so that the amount does not build up for you later. Because what a lot of traditional lenders do is they'll say, okay, you finish your program and then you start repayment. But what they do not tell you is actually they are compounding that amount. So and with Empower, it's a fixed interest rate loan. So the interest rate you get sticks with you throughout the duration of your loan, irrespective how bad the market goes, how low the currencies goes. It's that is what you'll get at the start, and this is not going to change. So you'll have a clear idea of how much amount you have to repay, and that's why it's an interest only repayment process. But once you finish your education, then you can start paying the principal as well.
Okay, very nice. And I saw a question. What is the usual general interest rate on average?
All right, so Empower interest rate starts from 9.99% and goes up to 15%. Like I mentioned, we are placing bet on your profile, and since it's a cosigner collateral free loan, it's a non-secured loan. That's why the interest rates are a bit higher than you might get on a bank or a lender which is asking for your a guarantee from you. So yeah, that's the range. But for anybody who is going for a top STEM degree, the number is closer to 9.99% as a general scenario.
Okay, very nice. And then Mahnoor has a question. Are the loans eligible for a specific intake, a fall intake or spring intake? Rohan, do you want to answer that?
I think it
Yeah.
works for all intakes. Doesn't matter what your intake is, as long as you have your admission in place, you have a loan offer letter. Based on that, you get your I-20 and then you get your visa. It doesn't really matter what month of the year you start your program in.
Okay, very
That's
nice. And then before, Tayyab, you have a question.
Hello everyone. So yeah, a little background about myself before I put up the questions to you. I'm Tayyab, as the name says. I graduated from Canada from Mount Elson University, and then I've been working with Deloitte for 2 years. So I just want to pursue MBA in US. I don't want to go for MBA in Canada. So like a few things I am putting up to Utkarsh. What's the turnaround normal usual turnaround time for you guys? And to get back to us when we put up the application to you guys. Secondly, when the payments start, for example, like I'm not talking about the interest only payments, but all the loan payments after you graduate. Like if a person misses a payment or two, what's the buffer period that you guys usually give? And lastly, if a person has a dual nationality, for example, a national of Canada and Pakistan, or he has a PR card in Canada, like do you guys offer a lower interest rate, or you still like see them as like since they lived in their entire life and they have family ties back home Pakistan, so you still see them as Pakistan, like you still see them as high risk person or something like that.
Oh, so I'll start with the last question first about nationality. So it does not matter till the time you are a US citizen, because the norms in US are pretty different, and you will be still accounted as an international student till the time you do not have a US citizenship. So I hope that answers your question. And like I mentioned, like it's going to be based on your profile. So no matter like what are the ties or anything, like it's a straightforward forward process. Second is for the time where somebody misses the payment. Yes, there are mechanisms in place which differ from case to case, for which like we do have a in-house team which is going to help you, and like I mentioned, they'll come to you, they'll ask you, you might have to provide some documentation for maybe like a issue that you're facing, if there's any, and they'll help you out in that case.
Okay, very nice. And then Sheetal, you have a question.
Hello, I am Sheetal. Actually, first I want to introduce myself. So I am CS graduate and I want to pursue data science in US. I wanted to ask that what are the opportunities for someone who's graduating from an affordable public university in the US in comparison to who's graduating from well-known, big, highly ranked university? Because if I talk about my case, I can ideally be sponsored around 60 lakh PKR, which is not enough to study in the US, right? It's hard to remain within that budget bracket. So I was thinking to choose university that has reduced tuition fee, maybe around 15,000 USD, but that's still very tough and they are not well known. So I just wanted to ask that how opportunities differ for students who are graduating from highly ranked well universities. So would you like, I think I'll have to eventually apply for MPower loan to sustain in the US, considering living expenses, tuition fee. So, would you suggest taking loan and choosing a good, big, highly ranked university and not going for affordable public university? How do opportunities differ?
So I can answer to that. I went to Northeastern University, which I felt like I could have gone to a better school. It's a good school, but I feel like I could have gone to a better school. But based on what I've seen in my friends, after your master's degree, most of the opportunity, if you're going to an MBA, most of the companies they come to you. If you go to a target school, companies come specifically to your school for recruiting, or if you have a highly specialized program which is known to produce, like for example, you're doing aeronautical engineering in Georgia, and there's like a big aerospace company in Georgia that wants to hire just from that program. That is a different story. Other than that, especially for masters, your proximity and your network matters a lot more when it comes to finding the right jobs. So my suggestion to you would be whatever school you go to, try to maximize your time in making connections and finding the right people to network with who can eventually refer you. The thing that you're doing right now, going to these webinars, talking to people, finding peers, I'm sure you can reach out to Rohan afterwards, and he'd know that this person, she was part of that webinar, and he'll be happy to help. So I think opportunities are there, especially now with the H1B situation. Some of the smaller companies might be hesitant, or they might not, because they don't understand the whole situation as well. Some opportunities might not be there, which were there like 6 months ago. But overall, if you play your cards well, regardless where you are, I think US is a huge 150 million or 160 million jobs in this economy, and 33 million small businesses, more than like I think hundreds of thousands of large corporations. So I think if you play your cards right, if you know what you want and then network your way through it, I think you'll be all right. Rohan, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, and what I've seen and from all the people I've talked to, all the people I've met at work as well, your university only matters as long as it's a target school. But even for target schools, I would say with a target school, you get 50% assistance from the school because of the brand name and because the companies come to you, and the rest of the 50% is still your profile. So for example, if Harvard is having a graduate batch of 300 people, 150 of them would get better opportunities than the other 150. And simply the reason for that is even though all 300 of them are Harvard, some of them are actually a lot more hardworking and have a lot better networking skills as compared to the rest. So the same thing applies to non-target schools as well. Anything outside target schools, it's pretty much the same, because what matters is how good you are at what you do, how good your communication skills are, and what's your network and your relationships like, and how willing you are to apply to companies and research companies that are A, not as well known, and B, are in areas where not a lot of people are willing to go to. So for example, I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah. Not a lot of people have heard about Salt Lake City, Utah, but people don't realize the number of companies, the kind of brand name companies, the Fortune 500s that have presence here. So similarly, it really depends on how willing you are to network, how willing you are to put in the hard work and effort, and how willing you are to reach out to people and get help from them.
Yeah, and we have, okay, let me just do a shameless plug here. We have a webinar on, finding jobs from remote parts of the US or from tier 2 schools right after this one. I just put it in the chat. So Ursel, our next guest, or our next guest speaker, he'll be talking about it. So that starts in 30 minutes. Feel free to join. What else? So I think there was one other question. Ikra. So, Rohan, I'll let you answer this one. So, the question is, if a student is on loan and in a master's degree, and your part-time jobs put your visa at risk, are loans enough to cover your living expenses? and how do you actually manage that kind of stress of loans? Because when we think if it doesn't go right, there might be consequences. So I can talk about. So I got a student job on campus as I think I was working for the admissions office. I started working there in my second semester. I was getting paid $1,500 or $1,400 in Boston, and that was because I was sharing a room. I was living like a student should live. I was able to manage my expenses, and that didn't really give me enough, stress at all. So being confident in your own skill set, in the hard work you're putting in, I think that is the only recipe to avoid getting stressed out. Rohan, do you want to answer that?
Yes, so a couple of things I would do here. The first part of your question is that are loans enough to cover your living expenses? If you look at the numbers the university provides, they generally are pretty accurate because they take into account a good standard of living. Like, for example, you have your own room. That's the university expectation. Like, you have your own room, you're eating well, you're socializing a little bit as well. If you cut down on a lot of those stuff, you can live on less, but again, if you just run with the numbers the university is giving you, you can be comfortable here in the US. And that all automatically comes down to how you plan. Like, what's your tuition fee? Have the numbers. What's your tuition fee? What's your living expense going to be? And then once you have those numbers, you can always pull back from it, but always plan on the higher side. Always expect to pay more than what you originally imagined. And then as far as working is concerned, part-time jobs, as Tabarak mentioned, look at your school and ask your visa officer or whoever you're communicating with that what kind of student part-time job opportunities are there from your school. Don't go into illegal work. I would strongly recommend you don't go into illegal work. Get a bigger loan. You can always pay that off later, but don't go into illegal work, because then if something bad happens, you lose all chances of ever earning that kind of income on this land. So you will be sent back. You will be banned from this country. Your credit will be destroyed because automatically you will not be paying a loan that you took for your education. And just don't do that. It's not worth the risk. Talk to your school, see what the opportunities are there on campus. It may not be enough to cover all your living expenses, but either you can cut down or it will serve as a very good buffer so that your out-of-pocket cost will be very reduced. And honestly, the stress of paying off a loan comes when you don't plan for it. When you know your numbers, when you know what your payment is going to be month over month, when you know how much food you're consuming, what your travel cost is, and when you have all those numbers listed out, there will not be a stress because you will have everything in front of you. So you'll exactly know what to expect. And if you were to be into a problem, you would know 3 months before that because you are running with a plan and with a budget. So just plan for it and there won't be any stress. But yeah, planning for it can be stressful, but don't take the stress because you haven't planned for it, because these are two very different kind of stresses.
Yeah, no, thank you for. I think that's great perspective. Uh, I think we're coming to the close of time. If anybody has any questions, I'll feel free to ask right now. Utkarsh, do you have any parting thoughts?
No parting thought, but like across when we do a lot of live sessions, this is like something that I like to communicate to the audience, especially international students who are still not there, is to the point that you guys mentioned earlier, is the importance of networking. US as a country by culture is highly networking driven, right? And that's why it is very important for anybody who's planning to move to such countries. And the best part is you can actually start working on it even before you are there. You have this amazing tool called LinkedIn. You'll find everybody over there. Ensure that you have an optimized LinkedIn profile, like you have listed out your experience over there. You have mentioned what you have to offer to anybody who's looking to help you or support you, and then reach out to the alumni base even before you are there. Start reaching out to the professors, start reaching out to the students from your country. Every country has a country group in on the university campus, student associations. I've worked with a couple of them from Pakistan as well, and these communities are going to be a great asset for you once you're there on the campus, but you can obviously leverage them even before you are there. You reach out to the current students from the program that you are going and applying for, because eventually they'll graduate before you. They'll be in good companies, and you can reach out to them and ask for referrals for internships and jobs later when you need it. So it is important. A lot of reach out to the current TAs, GAs, because they have to vacate their position, and a lot of times the professors reach out to them for their referrals, and if you are in good terms with them, they can refer you for that job. Like Rohan mentioned, it is illegal to work outside campus in US, and the teaching assistant job or any other on-campus job are a great source of making money on the campus to easily spend on your living expenses, or even take care of your education loan at that moment so that you can repay it. We have had students who have had a on-campus job of up to $2,500 per month, and who are still somehow connected. So it's always good to have that connection on campus, and you can start even before you have got that admission. So that would be like my 2 cents on the importance of networking, to what you guys mentioned earlier.
Very
Thank you.
nice. Thank you for that. And I should have done this right at the beginning of this session. But Rohan, why don't you introduce yourself? Like, what exactly do you do? And how did you get your job?
Okay, sure. So I graduated in August of 2024, so exactly a year and a month ago. After that, I was in Boston. I did have a job after graduation, but it was like a very toxic company. It was a remote job. It was a Canadian firm, and it was a PE firm, like a very small boutique PE firm based in Canada. They were doing some M&As for dental companies. I started working from them, and 6 months in, I realized that I will not last long here at this company because the environment and the culture was just too toxic. So in the meantime, I was constantly trying to apply for jobs. Then I found an opportunity. So two opportunities came together at the same time. One was in Michigan, in Kalamazoo. So Kalamazoo is a very small city between Detroit and Chicago. I was there for a brief 2 months, and when I got that offer, I was in the process I was in the process with the company I'm currently working at. So right now I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah. I work with Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is a bank here in the US, and I am on their prime brokerage operations team. So I was in the process with these big multinationals. The problem is that their process is very long. So I was in my background check hadn't really started, and I was still interviewing when I got that offer. So again, I took the opportunity in Michigan and moved there, started working there. In 2 months in, I got my start date here with Goldman. So I excused myself. It was a very difficult conversation, but I excused myself and I moved here to Utah. And ever since then, I've been here. So that's basically, and that's basically how I ended up. And how I got jobs, simply, I did a lot of networking. I did, but in my case, networking didn't really help. I mean, it didn't really help me in the sense that nothing directly came out of networking, but through networking, I was able to find out about other opportunities that I applied to independently, and that's how I got them. So it didn't pay any dividends directly to me, but over the long term, it led me to opportunities that brought benefit to me. So I would still say that the more people you talk to, it's like opening doors. The more people you talk to, the more doors to opportunities you're opening. And it may not benefit you directly at the time, but indirectly, it might just come back and serve you in a better way. Especially if you're talking to people and you're genuinely trying to connect with people, it will bring you good opportunities because you're putting out good karma in the world.
Very nice. And do you have any final thoughts or any final piece of advice?
Most of you guys are in a situation where I was literally 2.5 years ago. I can understand how daunting and how difficult it can feel. It's really not. It's a very long process, but if you really break it down, there are just small steps that you need to take over a period of a couple of months, and you will end up where you want to be. As far as any kind of help or assistance is concerned, I am pretty active on LinkedIn. You guys can always connect with me, reach out to me, drop me a message, and I will try my best to help you guys with whatever you want. And yeah, just stay connected.
Thank you. Thank you, Rohan. Thank you, Utkarsh. And thank you to everyone who joined for this session on a Sunday evening. I hope you guys, succeed and do amazing things in your career. We'll share the recording of this session with you, and I'll also share whatever links there are. And, I'll share Rohan's LinkedIn as well. And, we'll stay in touch. Take care. All the best.
Thank you, Tabarak. Thank you, Utkarsh. Bye, everyone.
All the best. Bye.